Hey, it's Jared with State of Tech. I'm a parent of 4 children, and I wanted to talk to you today about technology in the home. I gave a presentation to parents in person a week ago, and I wanted to put this together in a video format, both for all of you that follow the channel who may have children and are figuring out or need to figure out technology in the home. I wanted to talk about that to all of you, and then also just make this video available to anybody else as I can share it and just make it useful. I am a marketing professional. I do web design, email marketing, social media marketing. I actually get paid to get people's attention online. And so it's an interesting perspective from me because I do this for a living, and at the same time, I want my family and really everybody to have a healthy balance of online consumption, whether it's games or social media or whatever it is. And so coming from that perspective, not only am I a marketer, but I'm a tech reviewer here on this channel. I talk a lot about technology. I have a lot of technology and utilize it in a lot of different ways in my life and also in the lives of my children. So that gives me, I think, a unique perspective on the topic of technology in regards to how I parent my children, how my wife and I parent our children, and how we want our children to view technology in a healthy way moving forward. I'm also a photographer, and as I mentioned, my wife and I have 4 children. So let me backtrack a little bit and talk about my tech journey and like what led up to me being here and talking about this. When I was young, I was introduced to technology mainly through school and also through my grandparents who were always kind of early adopting things. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I think I was probably 3 years old, they had a compact disc player, which was what they called it before they abbreviated it to CD player. So they had a CD player. I was enamored by that because before it was like tapes, and I mean like CDs at that time in the early 80s were brand new technology, and so I was just enamored by that. And as my grandparents got computers and as I ended up with a computer in the home, I was just more and more enamored by the technology. And a lot of times I had unsupervised ability to explore that technology. And that wasn't really a big deal until the internet came along and we had internet in the home. But I enjoyed taking apart the computers and different things to the dismay of my grandparents and anybody who, probably my mom as well. I mean, I like to take them apart and see what was on the inside, sometimes even removing components and putting them back to try and figure out if I could make it work again. I wanted to understand how it worked, and that was part of just my curiosity in the technology. So my understanding of technology, I believe, has always given me an advantage as a person who has been self-employed since I was 20 years old. I've been full-time self-employed since I was 20. I've had some variety of self-employment since I was an early teenager, but full-time since I've been 20 years old. And I believe wholeheartedly that my understanding of technology and my ability to utilize technology has given me an advantage over my competition. I even ran into a person last night who just came up and started talking to me about technology, and it surprises me all the time just how quickly people who I would think have an understanding of technology don't have as much of an understanding of technology as I guess I would think that they have. But with that said, technology has given me an edge, and I really do enjoy talking to people about technology. This channel here is, I've been doing for a long time and just beat that 100,000 subscriber goal. Thank you to all of you who have subscribed, and if you haven't yet, take a moment, hit that subscribe button, hit that thumbs up icon. But I enjoy helping people understand technology and use it in a healthy way. And that's going to be a big part of the rest of my talk here is keeping it healthy, because technology is not really designed to, especially a lot of these personal devices that we use, they're not really designed to just utilize when we need them. They're designed for attention. And all the games, all the apps, we'll talk more about that. So when internet came into my home, it was brand new. For those of you that have been around for a while, you might know what AOL is. Most people don't even remember AOL because it hasn't been a thing in a long time. I actually had CompuServe before AOL, and that was a dial-up internet service that allowed me access to the internet. And AOL ushered in instant messaging, being able to chat with people, and also find communities of people in chat rooms. And unfortunately, I had unsupervised access to those and found myself in a lot of sketchy places that I probably shouldn't have been in as a young teen. I think was around the years, probably a little younger than that, when I started having just unsupervised access to the internet. And that led to discovering lots of things that I was just too young to understand. But because I was communicating with other people, and they were, talking about the same things, and there was a little bit of like, oh, I probably shouldn't be exploring this. I shouldn't be exposed to these things. And so you don't go to your parents and say, look what I found. And then your parents are like, no, that's actually really bad. You look at that. You shouldn't be accessing that. And with that, I mean, problems and hiding it and all of that stuff come about. Technology really has advanced faster than our ability to cope with what it can expose us to. And so much has changed over the last even 100 years with information that we get, and it's just gone like that, exponentially up. But us, ourselves as humans with brains, we have not increased in our capabilities at the rate in which all of the information and things that are available have come at us. And it's very hard for those of you that have existed through the last several years with COVID and everything else that's going on. There's so much conflicting information, whatever you want to call it, and it is very hard to have an opinion and to hold on to that opinion and really feel like you know what's going on. Even if you feel like you do, like there's something tugging at you that's like, no, maybe you don't. It's really a challenge. And so, technology and its advancements really have moved faster than we are able to keep up. So, with the internet, that unsupervised exploration continued, and of course, technology continued to advance. Technology and the web are really amazing. As I mentioned, it's allowed me to be self-employed for the last 20 years, and I make a living based off of utilizing technology and the internet. But there's a dark side to technology, and we're going to take a moment to discuss that. As I mentioned before, it really is designed to be addicting. Kids would rather watch a screen than go outside on the nicest of days. I've experienced this firsthand with my own children. They would rather go and get on their screen, on their device, than go outside on an amazing, beautiful, awesome day where all of us, hopefully the rest of us adults, would want nothing more than to be outside. The financial model for most games and apps are based on the retention rate, how long they can keep your attention. And so whether you're social media, some sort of even productivity apps are how often you check in, how many things you check off, unlocking different things as you utilize the app more. Even apps that are productivity apps are trying to keep our attention. But the financial model of all of those is based on retention for the majority of them. How long can you spend in the app? How many ads can they show you? How many products can they refer you? Even a percentage, as the percentage of watch time of my videos go up, YouTube will promote my videos more to other people. So as you watch this video more, YouTube is seeing that as, oh, this is an engaging video that people like. We're going to recommend more of his videos to other people because he does a good job at keeping people stick around longer. So even my incentive on YouTube and all of YouTubers' incentives are to keep people engaged, and that's why, I mean, this is nothing new. Back when television commercials were unskippable and you had to suffer through them, to keep you from switching the channel to another channel, there'd be a hook right at the commercial break, a big hook, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna suffer through these 4, 5, 6 commercials so that I can see what happens next. And on YouTube and social media, we're incentivized the same way. An average kid spends 4 to 6 hours on technology each day, some form of a screen, and the average teen 9+ hours. With technology being in our schools and kids having screen time in the schools, it means that they have a lot of technology time. Yes, it might not be playing their favorite game, they might not be watching their favorite YouTubers while they're in school, but it is screen time. It is utilizing a tool, probably even an educational tool that was designed to keep them engaged and keep them there moving throughout the game or the app as they unlock achievements or whatever it is that they do while they're learning. And it is easier for us to grab our device and scroll for a while than it is to think. And so even at the end of a long day, whether you're an adult or even with kids, at the end of a long day, it is easier to go and grab a device and kind of trade some brain energy for the device's energy and allow ourselves to be consumed by that device. If you struggle with procrastination like I do, then one of the most enabling devices is the device that we carry in our pocket. Our phone is a very enabling device for procrastination. It really is amazing how any of us get anything done with all that we have access to at any given moment. So, what is the solution in all of this? Well, I believe the solution is awareness, and that awareness as a parent looks like moderation and monitoring. And so those are two things that we really need to utilize when we are trying to make sure that our kids have technology, so that we're not just not giving it to them and letting them get behind, and maybe even not even understanding technology at all, which is going to put them behind. Or giving them just unlimited access to technology, which isn't good as well. As parents, we have to moderate and monitor just about everything that our kids come in contact with. And what I see in parenting, and even in some of my own parenting, is that there are things that we do a good job of moderating. Some of us are very good at making sure that we moderate our kids' intake of sweets. We don't let them just have unlimited candy and soda and all that stuff. Like, we understand that diabetes is a thing that you can contract based off of how you're treating your body. Like, we understand a lot of these things now. But with technology, we don't necessarily understand these things yet. So as parents, we have to moderate and monitor our kids when it comes to their technology use. Phone, tablet, console game systems, computers, they all have usage tracking tools now. On the iPhone, we can use these, on all the devices, we can use these to keep an eye on how much usage is taking place and limit the amount of usage so that our kids have access, but they don't have unlimited access. So I recommend using these tools to set limits on how much screen time your child can use each day on their device. Apple has screen time. You can turn on family sharing and connect your kids' devices to your account, your iTunes account or your Apple ID, and you can share app purchases, subscriptions, all of that stuff with them. So the family sharing is a neat feature because you don't have to buy an app for each person in your family if you want to utilize that app. If it's a good game that all of you enjoy, you buy it once, family sharing's turned on, you can share it with, I believe, up to 5 people in your family on that account. And same with subscriptions, like your Apple subscriptions to Apple Music, and those different services can be shared. If you utilize a family account, it's cheaper than subscribing to each person individually. And you can also control some of the features of their device on their phone, tablet, smartwatch, or even their Mac computer. Android has Digital Wellbeing and Google Family Link that kind of accomplishes the same thing. Digital Wellbeing is what is on the actual device that shows the usage and all of that stuff. Family Link, or Google Family Link, is the app that you would use to control those devices, to set limitations, and to be able to view the digital well-being information of that specific device. So it allows you to do that on Android phones, tablets, and Chromebooks. So that's the Google version. And if your kids have Android devices like an Android phone, tablet, or a Chromebook, but you have an iPhone, the Google Family Link app is available for an iPhone so that you can view and control those Android devices, but the Google Family Link and the Digital Wellbeing apps don't work on an iPhone or an iPad or a Mac. It's mainly for Android, Google Android devices. Microsoft has this feature for the Xbox, PlayStation has this feature. A lot of these different console, the Nintendo Switch, they all have these features where you can set limitations on usage, and a lot of times you can set it on a per app basis, on a per app category basis, or even just on the device as a whole. And so I recommend setting some form of limitation on these devices for screen time. For example, my kids can utilize their screens for a couple of hours on the weekends for games, and during the week primarily just for educational purposes. And so there are app limitations that we set, and then there are also time limitations that we set as well. People can say, oh, well, setting these limitations takes that out of the hands of the parent, and then the parent becomes passive or whatever. I think there's two sides to that coin. First is that the kids understand that it is my wife and I that are setting those limitations on usage, that we've set these limitations because we think a healthy use of technology is good. Like unlimited use of technology is not good, so we set the limitations. The device controlling that and making sure that it keeps them in check allows them to utilize that feature of the device, which when they become an adult and are out on their own and have unlimited use of technology, they're going to need to set those limits. And so it's giving them a taste of both. We're parenting them and setting the rules, and the device itself is setting the cutoff. And of course, I'm paying attention to, I know one day my kid will be smart enough to try and bypass those things, and so I may need to interject myself on that side of things just to make sure that they're not taking advantage. But I think it's utilizing all the tools that are available, not putting it all in one category of saying, like, you know, utilize the tools that the devices have, but also make sure that you're using it as a parenting opportunity as well. So if you need more control, there are internet connected devices that help you monitor everything, which we'll talk about. So measures of protection is important as well, making sure that your kids are protected, because you can't monitor them 100% of the time on technology. And so you need to put some things in place just to make sure that they don't accidentally come across things that, like I did when I was younger, and maybe even some of you did, that are going to be damaging to them. So I recommend a browser, an internet browser with ad blocking. I use the Brave browser, which essentially is Google Chrome with ad blockers and activity blockers and stuff like that in place. Of course, your computer itself can still see how much time is spent in that app. It doesn't block everything, but it does do a good job of blocking ads and protecting against those things. So that's an easy install, just to switch over to that browser, make it your default browser, and then ads are not being displayed, and things that might be displayed that would draw your child in that they shouldn't see won't be displayed. I recommend changing the DNS on your home network, and this might be a little bit much, so I'm going to try and explain it. And there are links, as I've mentioned at the beginning, there are links to all the resources that I talk about here, so make sure to check those out. Cloudflare DNS is a tool that allows you to change the DNS of your internet service, and so instead of routing your internet usage through your ISP, your internet service provider, it routes the internet usage through Cloudflare DNS, which allows for a level of protection against against things like ads, malicious websites, adult content, stuff like that. If you need a little bit more control, there is OpenDNS. OpenDNS used to be open source. It was purchased by Cisco, and it provides a little bit more control. It'll actually allow you to block access to specific websites. So if a website doesn't fit the criteria of being an adult website, but you need it just to be shut down and no access to it while somebody's connected to your network, for example, taking a break from Netflix by making it inaccessible, you can go and set that up and just put in the website address. It blocks it across your entire network, and then when you want to bring it back, you just simply remove it. And so OpenDNS has a bit more control, still a bit limited, but it has more control than Cloudflare DNS. I would say Cloudflare DNS is a little bit faster, so these services also give you a little bit faster internet. So there's benefits to them besides just filtering and content blocking and stuff like that. They do improve your internet speed and security as well. So it's something to look into. There are devices that you can connect to your home internet by companies. Circle is one of them, and Bark is another one. These are two different devices that are network connected devices that give you more control over what's going on your network, as well as monitoring. And they both have apps that you can run on your phone that allow you to see different things that are going on. These devices will allow you to see websites and different things that are being visited, time spent on specific social media sites and stuff like that, whether they're connected to using a computer or a tablet or a phone or whatever it is, as long as they're connected to your network. So those devices are neat, and they provide a lot more than OpenDNS or Cloudflare DNS. I'm not going to go any more into detail on them. There's a lot that can be talked about when it comes to those devices, but those are the best option for protecting your home internet without getting crazy and creating some sort of custom, software that runs on a router or something like that. Without getting super technical, these are the best options. So let's talk about tech and its usage in our lives. Like, tech is unavoidable. Like, we need it in our jobs. I don't care what job you have. It has probably been changed by technology in one way or another in the last 10 years, drastically. And so tech is unavoidable. Our kids also need it for schooling. Whether you have your kids in public school, private school, or are homeschooled, a lot of the information is online these days. We're not buying stacks of books. We're not, creating a library anymore. We're going online for the information that we need. And there's a lot more information, and it's more up to date as well. Preventing exposure altogether will hinder our kids' ability to thrive in a modern society and in a modern workplace. And so we have to give them access to technology, but we need to do it in a smart way. I have a lot of friends, even as growing up, like, they did not do it in a smart way. And so they just said, I can't have it. I need this out of my life because it's consuming my life. And they're now really far behind in technology and don't understand things and see it as a deficit that they have that they don't understand. And if somebody had come alongside of them and said, hey, like, here's a way of being more healthy with your technology use, like, that might have benefited them because they could have corrected their path and stayed somewhat engaged with technology. But as I mentioned before, unlimited and unmonitored exposure can lead to addiction. It can lead to exposure to things, and it just much worse. I don't even need to go down the list. So what does healthy exposure look like? I want my kids to have a good understanding of technology and know how to use it. And so I'm gonna talk a little bit about that and how I'm doing that with my kids and how that's gonna look as they become teenagers and hopefully adults. Like most things, technology can be amazing. It can also cause damage, and I want my kids to understand that. Just like you wouldn't put your kid on a large, very fast, powerful dirt bike and say, good luck. You would show them how it works, you would teach them how to utilize it, and you would also tell them that this can be fun and it can also hurt you. And there needs to be a healthy respect for things that can do that. And if there is a healthy respect for things that can do that, then you are on guard to some extent. You're open-minded, but you're also on guard. And I want my kids to have that type of approach when they come to exploring the internet. Aside from that, I believe that kids on their own should be able to keep themselves occupied and have fun and not be bored without having a screen in front of them. And that's becoming really hard. And it's a battle that we have to fight as parents, that our kids don't want to go outside and play so much anymore. They don't want to go and do the things that we used to do as kids so much anymore. They would rather spend time in front of a screen. I also want them to thrive in a world that expects them to understand tech. So what does that look like for my kids specifically? My kids have an Apple Watch and they have an iPad. They don't have a phone. Currently, at the time of recording this, my kids are 11, 10, 8, and 3. And the 3-year-old doesn't have an Apple Watch or an iPad, but the other 3 do. Now, the Apple Watch lets my wife and I communicate with them if we need to. We were looking at other devices that were available that were communication type devices, maybe something even with a little bit of fitness tracking, and I just couldn't find anything that I liked that gave me the ability to communicate with my kids, whether they were home or not, and also gave some fitness abilities and stuff like that. So the Apple Watch, when Apple allowed for it to be connected to my phone, so I can have multiple Apple Watches connected to my phone, but my kids can be wearing an Apple Watch. In the past, you can only connect one Apple Watch to one phone, or an Apple Watch had to be connected to a separate phone with a separate account. When Apple made it available so that you can connect multiple, that's when I said, you know what? The Apple Watch is the one for my kids. So my kids' Apple Watch have a cellular connection, which does cost. It's going to cost a different amount based on what cell carrier you're going with. But for me and on Verizon, it's $10 per device per month. And that gives calls and texting capabilities to the Apple Watch. And through my phone, I can control. So they don't have unlimited ability to call and text anybody. They can only call and text people that I have given access to, which is my wife and some close family members of ours. And so my kids can call and text. They can call and text each other as well. And the walkie-talkie feature is kind of cool on the Apple Watch also. So there's some neat features that give them a taste of technology without having a big screen like a phone where they can install apps and games and have unlimited access to all of those. Of course, on a phone, I could use the Screen Time app to control their usage of certain apps and games and stuff like that throughout the day, but they're still just going to want to be staring at a phone and having that screen, and that's going to be the thing that's going to consume their eye. I would rather them have a watch that is neat, but not something, I mean, the Apple Watch doesn't really have that many features, and I haven't installed games, I haven't installed a bunch of other types of apps. They basically have a stock Apple Watch, and that's about it. And so when they're at school, it goes into school time mode, which essentially just turns it into a watch. It has a watch face on it, really plain, and that's it. If they need to, they can unlock the watch and they can get in there and make a call or a text, but I get notified when they do that. So it has really good control over a kid's usage of it. And my kids understand that I can see when they unlock their watch, and so they know that during the day when they're at school, unlocking their watch is not okay. I told them, don't even think about your watch. Pretend you don't even have it on. And they do. They've done a good job with that, because I told them if I see that their Apple Watch gets unlocked, then I'm going to take it away from them. And they would rather have it than try to utilize it during the day and get in trouble for it. So they have an Apple Watch, and that gives them the ability to text each other and text me. Having the ability to text message also helps them understand the way that we communicate with text messaging, the difference between communicating over a text versus face-to-face, or even being able to hear our voices. They're learning about that stuff right now, which is going to help them in communicating digitally in the future. So it gives them a taste of what having a phone will be like, but it is far more limiting than that. And I don't see any reason why they need to carry a smartphone anytime soon. We used to say maybe when they're 13, but really, what do they need a smartphone for when the main thing that we would get them a smartphone for is for communication so that we can find them or communicate with them, and the watch does just that. So the watch may be a thing that they have well into their teen years until they are a little bit older. And it'll be on a per kid basis also. Where are our kids at individually, and as far as their level of responsibility and all of that stuff. So we'll revisit those things as our kids get older. Our kids get to play games on their devices, so their tablets. We do have an Xbox in the home, and we also have a Nintendo Switch, and we do also have an Oculus device. They are allowed to play games on those devices for 2 hours on the weekends, so 2 hours Saturday, 2 hours Sunday, which only happens if Monday through Friday went well. If Monday through Friday did not go well, then they'll get a little bit shaved off of that time that they get to spend on technology. Technology in our home is important, but it's also a privilege. It's not a right. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to privacy in the home a little bit later, about how it is a privilege and not a right. The iPads always return to the kitchen where we have a charging dock. The iPads always go back there. They do not travel to their bedrooms. They don't spend time in their rooms with their technology. The Apple Watches go on the charger, the tablets go on the charger, and we also limit television time as well. Yes, on occasion they do get to watch a TV show here and there, spend a little bit of time watching TV during the week, but it's not every night, and that also is something that we can limit should we feel the need to scale back television time. We expect them to play outside as often, if not more, than the amount of time that they spend on technology. Right now, we're in an active sports season, so that's relatively easy. 2 of our kids are in soccer, 1 of them's in baseball, and we've got games and practice and all that good stuff going on all the time. So what do they do in their downtime? Because they're not spending all of their time on technology, they read books. All 3 of my bigger kids love reading books, and they enjoy reading books, and so we feed that. We get them more books. We buy books. We go get them at garage sales or at thrift stores, or if it's a new book series, we might purchase them. They go to the library and pick out books. Our kids read a lot of books, and I feel like they've probably read more books in their lifetime than I've read in my lifetime. I mean, they've read a lot of books. It's crazy. And then I also have 2 PC computers that I built a while back that I do allow my kids to game on from time to time, but we also use them for helping them learn how to do things like edit video. A couple years ago, I got my kids a GoPro, and sometimes they film and make little video clips and stuff with the GoPro, or maybe they shoot little video clips with their iPad, and then they can put that on the computer, and so they're learning video editing and learning how to use different apps like that, which I think are huge and are going to give them just an edge over everyone else. Technology is their world, and it's their future. It's not something that we're going to be able to change. We're not going to prevent it. We need to make sure that their relationship to technology is healthy and fruitful. So the right amount of access will vary, I think, based on your goals for your kids, for your family, and what you feel is right. You may think that our technology limitations in this household are fairly restrictive, but we want our kids to have a healthy balance of life experience and not be so tied down to technology. And so some of you might feel differently about that amount, and that's totally fine. That is a personal preference, as long as it is a healthy balance. I often review their usage history just to make sure that nothing is out of whack, and also just to make sure that I'm aware of the different games that they're playing. And they can't install games on their own, so I am aware of what's on their devices, but sometimes they're spending more time on Minecraft, other times they're spending more time on different apps, and I like to just be aware of that. And if I ask them the question, they're going to say just, one word answer. I'm not going to get much information out of them, so I like to be able to engage with them and talk to them about the different apps and stuff that they're currently enjoying. So let's talk about privacy. This is a huge thing. Privacy is something very important, because big tech will have you believe that privacy is a basic human right. And you've probably even heard this from big tech companies like Facebook and Apple. If you have children in your home, it is your responsibility to monitor them. And privacy is something that you give out a little bit at a time as your kids get older. If you're not monitoring your kids, then who is monitoring your kids? So privacy, in my opinion, is not necessarily a basic human right. I think it is a privilege. I think it is something that we earn. And obviously there are laws and different things that are in place, because too much privacy in the wrong way can become bad. So my kids know that what they do online will be reviewed by either myself or my wife, and that they need to be smart about what it is that they're doing and saying, because I'm not there to be a police officer. I'm there to help direct them in a way that is keeping their relationship to technology healthy, and the way that they communicate and the things that they do, and things that they consume online, healthy. That's my main thing. Anything that comes into my home will be reviewed. It's my home. It's my internet. It's my technology. I paid for it. It will be reviewed. It is important to me to protect my home network. It's important to me to protect things that I have connected to our home network. And then, of course, most importantly, it's important for me to make sure that my kids are safe. And so everything that comes into my home that connects to the internet will be reviewed and looked over. Just as we increase the amount of autonomy we give our children, that will increase with age. So should we increase their access to technology, I think, as well. Just as we give our kids a later bedtime as they get older, we probably should also give them a little bit more access to technology and let them become part of the decision-making process as they get older. My internet usage, I'm starting to introduce to my kids that my internet usage is wide open to them. If they want to talk about privacy and internet usage, they can come and look at mine at any time. They can say, "Hey, Dad, let me see your browser history." Sure, let's do it. Why do you ask? And then we start a conversation and we talk about it. Oh, well, you're controlling my internet usage, and so I just wanted to see. I want them to understand that they can see whatever it is that I'm up to. I don't have anything to hide, and so they can see what I'm up to. And I expect that same courtesy from them in my household. Privacy, as I said, is a privilege. I remember when I was a kid, the door was taken off of my room because I abused the privacy of my bedroom, and so the door was taken off, and I no longer had a door on my room. And so I lost that, and some of you may remember having your door taken off of your room. So let's talk a little bit more about big tech and privacy, because this is very scary and very concerning. The internet is pushing towards privacy because big tech knows that we are going to go down these rabbit holes and access things that we shouldn't access, and access things that we may end up being ashamed of, things that we would do only behind closed doors. Big tech knows that the addictive access of the internet, the addictive things of the internet are going to be found in those places. And so we are naturally going to want to hide our user activity, our internet activity. I mean, if you go all the way back in the beginning of the Bible, when Adam and Eve first sinned, the first thing that they did was hide from God. This is just, basic biblical knowledge. They hid from God because they wanted to hide their activity. I mean, nothing has changed since, what's in the beginning of the Bible. We will hide our user activity. They know better than anyone that what goes on online, if they can hide that, if they can give us tools to hide that and make that not accessible and help us keep it private, then it's much easier for us to live engrossed in it and have an unhealthy relationship to it. Privacy for the sake of hiding our activity is not good. I do believe that privacy is good, and as humans, we deserve privacy. We have a right to protecting ourselves and being as private or public as we want to. Those things, yes, totally. Free speech, all of that stuff. But privacy for the sake of hiding our activity is not good, because that leads to dark things. All browsers have privacy mode. We can turn off location sharing on our smart devices. We can disconnect from a filtered network. So if you have your Wi-Fi has filtering, like we talked about earlier, and you're filtering out bad content, disconnect from that and connect to a cellular network, and it's unrestricted and untracked also as well. We can connect to anything that we want through a VPN, and that obscures everything, including what country you're connecting from. So what I'm getting at is where there's a will, there's a way. Like, if you want access to something, you're going to find it, and your kids too. If they want access to something bad enough, they're going to find it. And so we can't put all of that on the technology. Like, can we find a better filter? Can we find an accountability device? Can we check our kids' devices and limit everything to the point where they don't have a lot of their own privacy when it comes to their technology? I don't think that there is a real way of tightening down the technology to fix any problem. If you're already experiencing problems in your home, I don't think that tools and protections can do a whole lot, because the heart wants what the heart wants. And that's really the problem. The heart is what desires, and the desires are going to lead us to good things, or they're going to lead us to bad things. And so really the technology, like, we can't put enough filters or things in place. We can't even really take it away, because when they're somewhere else, they can access it. And so really it is a heart issue. It's dealing with the heart and the mind of your child. If you feel like you might already have a problem in your home and you need to get forensic, I have some links to some tools that'll help you find devices on your network if you're not sure if things are connecting to your home network or not. There are also more detailed tracking tools that will track and find things. I mean, you can get really forensic with this stuff, but what it comes down to is, I think, if someone has exposure to things that they shouldn't have exposure to, like I did as a kid, you have to identify that that's a problem, and then you need to work with your child and help your child heal from that, and help them get back on a path that is healthy, that is not self-destructive, and get them headed back in a positive direction that you feel best fit for your child. Not tightening down their, I mean, yes, there probably should be some ramifications, like, okay, we're not going to be using technology unless mom or dad is in the room or whatnot for a while. Like, yes, there should be some things that take place because of whatever's going on, but simply taking it all away is not going to fix the problem that is actually, it's not the technology, it's what is happening in the heart right now. And so things need to be dealt with there. This takes me back just to understanding over shame. Like, have an understanding of what your child is going through over shaming them. I'm very much part of the shaming generation. I was shamed for anything that I did wrong or that was wrong. And what that did was that made me feel like something was wrong with me, not that something happened and that was wrong. Like, there was no correction really there. It was, stop doing that. That's bad. You're bad. Don't do that. Nobody ever took the time to listen and explain and understand. And I didn't really feel like anybody was on my side in regards to that. And so I felt even more of a need to hide and obscure than to be open and honest about anything. And that went all the way well into my adult years. So that did only drive me deeper. And we will find communities that understand what we think we're going through, especially when you're young. You're looking for community, you're looking for people to connect with. And that was one thing that I found early on. And that was not a healthy community. Those were not healthy people that I should have been talking to. If anything, it just further made the problem worse within me, further corrupted me, gave me many things that I had to deal with for many years until I finally sought help and found people who actually understood what happens when those things happen and are uncontrolled. So Thankfully, that took place, and a lot of other great things have happened in my life that have helped in the process as well. I'll end the self-help there, but I do have resources for you. Like I said, I have a resource list with a lot of links, including some books and stuff like that that I think are super useful, and I encourage you to check those things out and utilize any of those resources that you find might be helpful. These are books, apps, and software, hardware devices for monitoring and filtering on your network, and even some tutorials, video tutorials on how to set that up, including a video tutorial on how to set up an Apple Watch for a kid, should you think that that might be a good solution for you and your family. It also has my contact information should you have any questions, but I do highly recommend using the comment section down below, because having these conversations out in the open and sharing questions and sharing responses is going to be beneficial to all of us. It's going to be beneficial to me just to have an open dialogue with a lot of you down in the comment section, but as we discuss different things and talk about the different aspects of everything that I discussed in this video, sharing and discussing those things together is just going to strengthen all of us as parents trying to do the best for our children, because I think that's really what it comes down to. So that's going to do it for this video. It was a very long video, but I'm so grateful if you're still watching. I thank you for being here. Parenting is a hard job, and it's not something that we can do on our own. It really does take a village, as many people have said in the past, but it takes the right people being part of that. It can't be random people on the internet. It can't be random communities and stuff like that. It really does need to be people who you feel have the best interest of your child in, and you as well as their parent, and not trying to take that away from you, because there's so many things out there trying to take that control away from us as parents. And it is our job to raise productive children of society who are healthy, who are strong, who have a great understanding of what this world is, so that they can thrive in it and not hit as many bumps as most of us have. So with that said, thank you for watching this video, and I hope to see you back in another one soon here on State of Tech. Take care.